Okay, so picture this. It's 1980, and it's Reverend Sun Myung Moon's 60th birthday. Now that's a huge deal, a day for a massive celebration, right? Well, he gets up to speak, but it's not a birthday speech. It's a declaration of war. And that's what we're going to break down today, this really pivotal sermon and the absolutely radical vision he laid out for changing, well, the entire world. So, right out of the gate, the tone is just intense. This is not some relaxed, thanks for the cake kind of speech. He's framing this moment as a critical turning point in a massive spiritual war. He's basically telling his followers, look, we'll have a party, a real celebration, but only after we've actually won this thing. So you might be wondering, what's the big deal about a 60th birthday? Well, in Korean tradition, it's huge. It marks the completion of one full life cycle. We're talking a major milestone. A time for a huge party, reflection, the whole shebang. But for Reverend Moon, nah, it was something else entirely. Instead of looking at retirement, he sees himself smack in the middle of a mission, and the clock is ticking, loudly. He talks about how the world's situation is just deteriorating, like incredibly fast, and it gives him this deep sense of urgency. I mean, his exact words in the sermon were, "Time is against us." You can really feel that pressure. And this urgency, it all boils down to his diagnosis of what he sees as the world's core problem. He's basically arguing that humanity got off on the wrong foot, like right from the very beginning. And everything that's happened since, it's all just a consequence of that one initial mistake. You know, the sermon really makes you stop and think about a pretty fundamental question, doesn't it? After thousands of years of civilization, why are we still trapped in these endless cycles of conflict, hatred, and division? He argues the answer isn't in recent history, it's way back at the very beginning of our story. So, what's the answer? According to the sermon, it all comes down to this theological concept called the fall of man. This is pinpointed as the one single original event that just shattered humanity's relationship with God. It turned what was supposed to be a partnership into, well, what we have now, a history of constant conflict and struggle. And if you look around, he says, the consequences of this fall are literally everywhere. He argues human history didn't start with truth, it started with lies. Nations, they weren't born from some noble ideals. No, they were born from war and bloodshed. And get this, he says every single national border you see on a map is, and I'm quoting here, stained by the blood of soldiers. It's a powerful image, right? And the result is a world that's just completely, fundamentally out of whack.
So here's the crucial takeaway from that part. You can't just fix a broken system by messing with the symptoms, right? You can't just tinker with the results. You have to go all the way back to the very beginning and change the cause. Because without a totally new starting point, you're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again.
Okay, so this brings us to the big solution in the sermon. If the entire foundation of the world is built on hatred and lies, what in the world could possibly be powerful enough to tear that down and build a new one? And he poses this incredible challenge. Think about it. Can one single idea, just a simple slogan, really be enough to reverse thousands of years of conflict? Could it actually set humanity on a completely new path? It sounds almost impossible, doesn't it? And then he gives his answer. The only force he believes is powerful enough to fight back against a whole history of hatred is a radical, complete, 180-degree turn, a turn towards absolute love. And we're not just talking about loving your friends and family. We're talking about a love so powerful, so absolute, that you love even your own enemy. So you can really see the two opposing philosophies here. On one hand, you've got the way of the world. It's totally reactive, right? It's built on revenge. You hit me, I hit you back, and the walls of hatred just get taller and taller. But the way he's proposing is completely proactive. You don't wait to react, you sow love, and that love becomes this incredible power that can literally melt those walls and create unity.
Now, this whole idea of loving your enemy is not just some nice individual spiritual practice. In this sermon, it's way bigger than that. It's the actual foundational tool for achieving a really concrete, world-changing goal.
And he calls this goal the fatherland of God. It's a pretty interesting concept. The idea is that God, even though he's all-powerful, doesn't actually have a true nation of his own here on earth. Not a single sovereign country that was built on this principle of absolute love instead of conflict. So the mission is to build one. And this really drives home the scale of the problem as he sees it, because every single existing nation was born from struggle, and all their borders are defined by bloodshed. He claims that a grand total of 0 currently belong to God. 0.
So you can't fix the old ones. A completely new nation is needed from the ground up.
Okay, so how does this massive, grand vision actually translate into action? Like, what do you do? Well, the final part of the sermon gets right into the practical, and let's be honest, often really difficult application of this whole ideology in the real world.
He gives this super concrete example from what he calls home church work. Just imagine this for a second. You go to the door of a neighbor who absolutely hates you. You get rejected, maybe even shoved away. But you come back the next day, and the day after that, and you always have this peaceful look on your face. Now, the other neighbors, they see this happening. At first, they're probably just confused, right? But then, they get curious, and eventually they might even start defending you, wanting to know what on earth could possibly be driving you to do this.
And this all leads to a really startling conclusion. He says that rejection and persecution, they're not failures. In fact, when you meet them with this kind of unwavering love, they become the tools that win you new friends, new allies. It's kind of wild. The more dramatic the opposition, the bigger the opportunity you have to show what you're all about and actually win people over. Then he turns this idea right back on himself and his own movement. He's like, look, I know the media, the government, other religions, even my own followers' parents, they all see me as the enemy. He totally acknowledges it. But then he reframes the whole thing. He says this opposition isn't a problem he needs to solve. It's the perfect opportunity to practice what he preaches and prove that his ideology actually works.
And then the sermon ends with this final, super provocative twist. I mean, after all this time talking about external enemies, nations, other people, entire institutions, he flips the script and turns the focus completely inward. He says your real enemy, the one you have to watch out for 24/7, isn't communism, it's not a critical newspaper, nope, it's your own physical desires. The ultimate battle, it isn't out there in the world, it's right inside you.